Okay, scholars, I'm going to bring you through how to do error analysis on your interim exam. This is going to help you understand where your breakdowns of understanding occurred so that you can make sure to avoid these kinds of mistakes in the future. I'm going to take you through question number 18 since this was one of the most frequently missed questions by all 4 classes. Please make sure that you are following along with my process even if you happen to have gotten question 18 correct. So our step 1 is to write the question number. We're focusing on question 18. So please write question 18 in your box now. Then you're going to look at your assessment and copy down the question exactly as it's written on your assessment. So while I'm copying and pasting, go ahead and write in question number 18. How do both of these documents reflect the perspectives of the people creating them at the time? Pause this video as needed if you need to take an extra moment. Then you're going to underline the key test vocabulary words such as define, evaluate, and question words like why and what. So our question word is how. We're going to underline that right here. How do both of these documents, and I'm going to say reflect the perspectives of the people creating them at the time. So those are some of my key test vocabulary words. Now perspectives also doubles as an academic vocabulary word since we've been talking about perspectives in social studies. Then I'm going to actually write the meaning for any of my academic vocabulary words. I'm going to take perspectives as my academic vocabulary word. So you are going to write the definition where I'm going to type it in red. So when we're talking about perspectives, we're talking about the way that people view a certain event or the viewpoint. So the viewpoint of a person or the way a person feels about a situation. That is what perspectives means. Multiple or one perspective means. Then step 2, you are going to actually determine which type of question it is. You just went over the difference between document-based questions, recall questions, and combo questions. This is one of those questions that would qualify as a combination question because not only do you have to be able to read and understand the document, but it helps to understand a little bit about what was going on in the time period. So I'm going to write in this box combo because you have to know how to read the document and a little bit about the time period. Then you're going to summarize in your own words what the question is asking. So our question, again, is how do both of these documents reflect the perspectives of the people creating them at the time? So how I would put that in my own words is how do these show people's feelings at the time? Okay, this just makes sure that I understand what the question is actually asking. Finally, the last part of step 2 is to write the answer in your own words. So we're going to now read the document and answer the question in our own words. So how do these documents show people's feelings at the time? These are 2 relatively large documents, so as I'm annotating, I'm really focusing on my question. What are the feelings of people at the time? Document 1, Declaration of Rights of Man, France. So my first document is from France. Men are born and remain free and equal in rights. Social distinctions can be established only for the common benefit, so they like freedom. The aim of every political association is the conservation of the imprescriptible rights of man. These rights are liberty, property, security, and resistance to oppression. Again, they seem to like rights. Number 4 talks about liberty, and now I'm going to actually sum this up a little bit because in order to get through this on time, I'm going to do a little bit of summarizing. Number 4 talks about liberty again, that you're not harming somebody. Number 10 talks about having freedom of religion and opinion. Number 11 talks about the free communication of thoughts and opinions. So again, this idea of freedom, thoughts, and opinions. And number 16 talks about the guarantees of separation of powers in the Constitution. Document 2 talks about the Bill of Rights of the United States. Amendment 1 says Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting, which means stopping, the free exercise of religion, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. So this is talking about freedom of religion and freedom of speech. So again, freedom of these things. Amendment 2, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So we're talking about militia, which makes me think of military, and the right to bear arms. And I know that that has to do with weapons. Amendment 3, no soldier shall in time of peace be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. So it looks like no soldier is allowed to be in the house of somebody without the person who owns the house allowing them to do so. So a soldier can't just go in there and take over the house. So now I'm looking at my 4 answer choices. What do I know about these 2 documents? The first one, I have background knowledge that that's from the French Revolution, and the second one, I have background knowledge that it's from the American Revolution, or after the American Revolution, the establishment of the Constitution. So question A, answer choice A, we're now going to go through and say why each of these is not correct. A, they both show how society has stayed the same over time. When we're talking about guaranteeing the freedom of speech and all that stuff, if that was a new concept, then that would not stay the same over time. So one answer that I might choose was that how do the documents show people's feelings at the time? I might say that people were really focused on liberty and equality, as well as what was important to them in each country. Now I'm going to look back at my answer choices and decide which ones are wrong and why they are incorrect. So if I look at answer choice A, it says they both show how society has stayed the same over time. I don't really think society has stayed the same over time because this was 200 years ago and it's not showing a timeline or anything. So I'm going to put it does not show society over a period of time. It only shows that one time period. Answer choice B, they both show a European's perspective on rights. This one I can get rid of right away because the United States is not in Europe. So I'm going to put the United States is not in Europe. Answer choice C, they both respond to abuses of the governments at the time. Well, I do know that during that time period, both were kind of going through a revolution phase, so it might be choice C. So I'm going to look at choice D and see if I can rule it out. D, they both talk about monarchies, which indicates the time period. It never actually talks about kings or queens in here specifically, so they don't actually talk about monarchies. So I'm going to rule out choice D. Now I'm ready for step 4, which is to put my correct answer choice and my explanation. So if I can answer and have a good explanation for why that is the correct answer, then I know I've gotten it right. So I'm looking back at answer choice C. They both respond to abuses of the governments at the time. Well, when I look back in the text, it talks about a lot of freedom, that people have equal rights, that there's freedom of thoughts and opinions. And I know in France with King Louis XVI, he really was not respecting people's rights around the French Revolution. Let me see in the Bill of Rights. Well, Amendment 2 I don't really understand with this, like the right of people to keep and bear arms, and Amendment 3 is also a little confusing. It talks about soldiers being allowed in people's houses. So I'm going to assume or infer that at the time governments were not allowing people to have any guns maybe, and also maybe that they were forcing soldiers into people's houses. So answer choice C is my final choice because they both talk about responses to horrible things governments could do. I also might put in quotation marks, soldiers in houses and freedom of speech, which was in both passages. So that's In essence, how I go through just one section of error analysis, that took me about 10 minutes for one question. If you don't have a teacher talking at you while you are doing your error analysis, it should take you under 10 minutes for each question, but it is really worth the process. Let your teacher know if you have any questions.